I think a lot of times we as leaders, coaches, managers, we can give some mixed messaging when it comes to process and results. Hey, listen, you got to perform. You got to get the result. Otherwise, there's going to be a consequence. There can be that messaging. There's also the messaging of, hey, listen, don't focus on the results. Focus on the process. So me, the recipient, I'm like, what am I focusing on? So that's really what today's episode is all about. And I thought I'd start off with, what is the relationship between process and results? So think about this. Somebody who's solely focused on process reminds me when I was a child, the first time I heard the saying, listen up, boys, it's not whether you win or lose, it's how you play the game. And immediately, I did not like that. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's not whether you win or lose. We're here to win. It reminds me, first year as a T-ball coach, right? My son is 5 years old. These are all little 5-year-old boys. And the league did not keep score. There were no wins and losses. But believe me, in the dugout, the kids knew exactly what the score was. And there was debate because there was no scorekeeper. So, hey, we're up 5-4. No, it's tied 4-4. And I'm like, listen up, boys, we're not keeping track of the score. They didn't listen to any of that. They knew exactly how many times they rounded the base. They knew exactly how often they got out. So that's what happens when you focus solely on the process. What happens when you focus solely on the result? Well, it's pretty easy to slide into D2. D2 is not competent, not committed / motivated. We don't want to be living in the world of D2 at all. It reminds me of a time I was at the Vancouver Winter Olympics, and we're up in Whistler, and we're having a great time up there. And in the bar in Whistler, we happened to run into a French skier, an alpine skier who placed 8th. Okay, so the fact that you're an Olympic athlete, like, wow, and we're meeting these athletes. But I got to tell you, this was after the event. This guy was done skiing, and he was so down in the dumps for placing 8th. He just had these obviously higher aspirations and wanted to medal. And, I'm thinking to myself, you're the 8th best skier on the planet. Okay, we're talking planet Earth here, and you're number 8. I don't know if I'm number 8 in the planet in anything. I mean, shouldn't you feel great the fact that you went to the Olympics? No, this guy was solely focused on the result and got D2 very quickly. The relationship between process and results is this. A great process with time and effort, okay, we need some time and effort, leads to results. So do you focus on the process? Do you focus on results? You focus on both. I've got 3 tips when it comes to this dual focus, right? Focusing on the process and focusing on the results. It's not a singular focus. Really, we want to do both. So my first tip is take the emotion, try to take the emotion out of the results. In other words, never get too high when you're up, right? Pride comes before the fall. And never get too low when you're down. Don't get all tough on yourself and down and depressed. And again, D2, right? Like that French skier we're talking about. Kind of reminds me of Simon Sinek's book, The Infinite Game, right? So he basically says, there is no winning or losing. You're either up or you're down. It's the infinite journey, not the final destination. So again, when it comes to results, let's try to take the emotion out of it. My second tip is to start with the results. Get your baseline. A lot of people might say, really? Don't you start with the process and then get the result? No, let's get the baseline. Let's measure immediately where we're at, okay? Every time I go to the gym, the first thing I do is hop on the scale. Every time I hop on the scale, I want it to go down just a smidge. I'm not looking for massive results. I understand it takes time to lose weight. Okay, that's one of the things I'm trying to do is lose weight. And the other day I hop on the scale and the numbers went higher, not lower. It's kind of like golf. I want a lower score here. And so that just gave me a little more fuel, gave me a little more intensity with the workout. Okay, so I want those numbers going down. Made me focus all day long on eating less and cutting out some carbs and some sugar. And so I really think of Mamba mentality when I think of this tip right here. Mamba mentality says really this: it's a constant quest to try to get better today than you were yesterday, and better tomorrow than you were the day before. So start with the results, get the baseline, and let's work from there. My third tip is to look at process like the work. It's the act of doing with efficiency. I mean, that's where all the magic is. You know, it's the process, it's the work. We'll measure and get the results later, but let's look at the process as it's the work, it's the grind with efficiency. So if you've never seen the show The Profit, I highly recommend it. Marcus Lemonis. Similar to Shark Tank, it's entrepreneurs showcasing their business, but his show is a little bit more of a deep dive, like, okay, listen, I'm partnering with this business and let's turn this business around. Okay, so again, much longer presentation than Shark Tank. And so he always focuses on three things. No matter what venture he partners with, he calls it the 3 Ps. He looks at the people. Do I have the right people in place? Product. Do I have the right product? Are we selling the right product? And the third thing is processes. And in the processes, again, let's get down to work. Let's get busy. The act of doing. So again, the thought of like, hey, let's focus on the process. I get it. That is great. And is there a better way to do it? Is there an efficient way to do it? Can I get a set of eyes around me? Can I get some consultation with some people saying, listen, if you did it just slightly different, you might end up netting a much higher result. Okay, so the effort, all the act of doing really is the process. Fall in love with the process and let's continuously check in and measure. Okay, you cannot manage, right? Manage the workload. You cannot manage what you do not measure. So let's consistently check in, get the results, and let's get excited and enthusiastic about the work and the process.